Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Oldham County Fiscal Court. I'm Judge Executive David Vogel. Happy to have you here today on the 15th day of January. This is our first regularly scheduled meeting of the month. If you brought a cell phone with you today, please ask you to turn it to off or vibrate. We'll stand now for our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we begin today's meeting, I'd like to welcome our two newest members of the Fiscal Court, Stephanie Hawkins here and Albert Harrison. Welcome. Glad to have you here today. I'd also like to welcome State Representative Jason Nemus, who is with us today. Always happy to have Jason in Oldham County. He's done a great job of helping us move our agenda forward with state government. Now I'd like to ask our clerk to please call the roll.
Magistrate Likens.
Here.
Magistrate Tice.
Here.
Magistrate Harrison.
Here.
Magistrate Greenwell.
Here.
Magistrate Hounds.
Here.
Magistrate Hawkins.
Here.
Magistrate Dye.
Here.
Magistrate Logsdon.
Here.
Judge Vogel.
Here. Having all members of the Fiscal Court present, this meeting is now in session. Is there a motion to accept the agenda?
Second.
Are there any additions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Now we'll read the minutes of our last, we've actually had two meetings, December 18th and January 1st. And I'll ask Sheila Fair to go through those minutes with us.
December 18th, 2018. The Oldham County Fiscal Court convened at a regular meeting at 2 p.m. with Judge Executive David Vogel, County Attorney John Carter, and the following magistrates in attendance: Brent Likens, Wayne Tice, Bob Leslie, Steve Greenwell, Chris Hounds, Kevin Eldridge, Bob Dye, and Michael Logsdon. Motion made by Magistrate Leslie and seconded by Magistrate Greenwell to approve the agenda. Motion carried unanimously. The meeting minutes from December 4th were read aloud and approved unanimously. Public comment. Becky Zocklin, Solid Waste and Recycling Coordinator, announced the county's annual fresh Christmas tree recycling through January 31st at the Recycling Center, located at 3943 Jones Drive. For more information, contact 565-1007. Clerk's Office 2019 budget. Motion made by Magistrate Tice and seconded by Magistrate Hounds to approve the Clerk's 2019 budget. Motion carried unanimously. Clerk's Office 2019 Annual Standing Order setting maximum salaries for deputies and assistants. Motion made by Magistrate Greenwell, seconded by Magistrate Eldridge to approve the Clerk's 2019 Annual Order setting maximum amounts for deputies and assistants. Motion carried unanimously. Sheriff's Office 2019 budget. Motion made by Magistrate Dye, seconded by Magistrate Hounds to approve the Sheriff's 2019 budget. Motion carried unanimously. The 2019 annual order setting maximum salaries for deputies and assistants. Motion made by Magistrate Dye, seconded by Magistrate Hounds to approve the Sheriff's 2019 annual order setting maximum amount for deputies and assistants. Motion carried unanimously. Bid openings for a boom tractor. The following sealed bids for the a boom tractor were open and read aloud for the record. CMI Equipment Sales, Tennessee, $119,995. Mead Tractor, $115,846.03. Wayne Supply, $102,043. Wright Implement, $137,358.40. Bid opening for the Apple Patch Park and Ride project. The following sealed bids for the Apple Patch Park and Ride project were open and read aloud for the record. Louisville Paving, $1,680,000. County Administration, payables. Motion made by Magistrate Hounds, seconded by Magistrate Leslie to approve the payables. Motion carried unanimously. Contract agreements and resolutions. Resolution, litigation regarding extension district tax. Motion made by Magistrate Hounds and seconded by Magistrate Eldridge to authorize the Judge Executive to sign resolution number 01-12-1818 regarding litigation relating to the extension district tax, requesting the county attorney voluntarily dismiss his pending appeal. Discussion followed. Magistrate Hounds withdrew his motion. Magistrate Eldridge concurred. Hearing no objection, the motion was withdrawn. Committee reports and recommendations. Road Committee erosion control bond releases. Motion made by Magistrate Greenwell, seconded by Magistrate Likens, upon the recommendation of the county engineer to release the following erosion control bonds. Motion carried unanimously. $2,500 bond for the Pollard Office Building Development Project located at 2202 Commerce Parkway. $24,400 bond for Falcon Ridge Section 1. $15,100 bond for High Grove Section 2. A Boom Bid Award. Magistrate Greenwell abstained from participation in this discussion and vote. Motion made by Magistrate Hounds and seconded by Magistrate Eldridge to award the A Boom bid to Wayne Supply for $102,043. Motion carried 801. Magistrate Greenwell abstained. Personnel actions. Police. Motion made by Magistrate Leslie, seconded by Magistrate Eldridge to approve the promotion of T.J. Grace to sergeant at $29.02 an hour base rate effective December 19th, 2018. Motion carried unanimously. Dispatch. Motion made by Magistrate Hounds, seconded by Magistrate Greenwell to hire Nick Wilt as Telecommunicator 1 at $15.38 an hour effective January 2nd, 2019. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Hounds, seconded by Magistrate Dye to hire Kenneth Murphy as part-time Telecommunicator 2 at $25 an hour effective December 21st, 2018. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Greenwell, seconded by Magistrate Eldridge to change Dennis Tegethoff's date of hire to December 12th, 2018. Motion carried unanimously. Road Department. Motion made by Magistrate Hounds, seconded by Magistrate Eldridge to approve the promotion of Aaron Moore to Equipment Operator 2 at $15 an hour effective December 23rd, 2018. Motion carried unanimously. Engineers Office. Motion made by Magistrate Eldridge, seconded by Magistrate Hounds to hire Rebecca Truman as part-time Watershed Coordinator at $33.50 an hour effective December 19th, 2018. Motion carried unanimously. Board appointments. Extension District Board. Motion made by Magistrate Likens, seconded by Magistrate Tice to reappoint Ken Hepperman to the Extension District Board with the term to expire December 31st, 2022. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Greenwell, seconded by Magistrate Eldridge to appoint Billy Hicks to the Extension District Board with a term to expire December 31st, 2022. Motion carried unanimously. Board of Adjustments. Motion made by Magistrate Likens, seconded by Magistrate Tice to reappoint Mike Riley to the Oldham County Board of Adjustments with a term to expire January 1st, 2023. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Greenwell, seconded by Magistrate Logsdon to reappoint Ron Funk to the Oldham County Board of Adjustments with a term to expire January 17th, 2023. Motion carried unanimously. Police Merit Board. Motion made by Magistrate Eldridge and seconded by Magistrate Hounds to reappoint Cliff Wildeboer to the Police Merit Board with a term to expire January 1st, 2023. Motion carried unanimously. Public comment. Kevin Jeffries, Planning Commission Chairman, thanked outgoing magistrates Eldridge and Leslie for their many years of public service to Oldham County and wished them well. Announcements. Judge Vogel and Fiscal Court members expressed their appreciation for Magistrates Eldridge and Leslie, who served on Fiscal Court for 8 years and 16 years, respectively. Magistrates Eldridge and Leslie stated it's been an honor serving the citizens of Oldham County and on this court. Magistrate Likens announced a neighborhood meeting regarding the Pulte development on Goshen Lane at North Oldham Lions Club December 19th at 6 p.m. Judge Vogel and Fiscal Court members wished everyone a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Motion made by Magistrate Hounds, seconded by Magistrate Greenwell to adjourn the meeting. Motion carried unanimously, and the meeting was adjourned at 3:20 p.m.
You've heard the reading of our minutes from December 18th. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion? Magistrate Hawkins and Magistrate Albert will not be able to vote on this because they were not here as magistrates on December 18th. The rest of the group, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now, please read the minutes from January 1st.
January 1st, 2019, the Oldham County Fiscal Court convened at a special meeting at 11 a.m. with Judge Executive David Vogel, County Attorney John Carter, and the following magistrates in attendance: Brent Likens, Wayne Tice, Bob Leslie, Steve Greenwell, Chris Hounds, Bob Dye, and Michael Logsdon. Magistrate Eldridge was absent. Swearing-in ceremony. The following elected officials received the oath of office: Judge Executive Vogel, Fiscal Court magistrates, Sheriff, Clerk, Attorney, Constables, Coroner, and Property Valuation Administrator. Motion made by Magistrate Logsdon and seconded by Magistrate Hounds to approve the agenda. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Judge Vogel, seconded by Magistrate Likens to forego the reading of the minutes for December 18th until the next regular scheduled meeting, January 15th. Motion carried unanimously. Personnel actions. Motion made by Magistrate Logsdon, seconded by Magistrate Greenwell to hire Jim Silliman as civil engineer at $100,000 a year effective January 1st, 2019, and appoint him county road engineer with a 2-year term beginning January 8th, 2019, and ending January 12th, 2021, per KRS 179.020. Motion carried unanimously. Judge Vogel presented his list of staff appointments for 2019, stating this item will be considered and voted on at the next fiscal court meeting, January 15th. Motion made by Magistrate Dye and seconded by Magistrate Logsdon to approve the payables. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Greenwell, seconded by Magistrate Likens to adjourn the meeting. Motion carried unanimously, and the meeting was adjourned at 11:36 a.m.
You've heard the reading of our minutes from January 1st. Is there a motion to approve? Second. Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
We abstain again.
You're abstaining yet. Motion carried. Thank you. Time now for public comment. That's the time during the meeting when anyone who would like to address the fiscal court is able to do so. We generally allow up to 4 minutes. Is there anyone here who would like to address the fiscal court? Ask you to state your name and address.
Rick Noel, 1180 Pattons Creek, Pendleton, Kentucky, owner of the Old Oak Frame House, Otis Business in LaGrange. What's the status of the traffic light?
The status of the traffic light is that we expect it to be delivered in March.
Okay, thanks.
That expectation is based on the latest information that we received from District 5, and that was probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, something like that. Anyone else like to address the fiscal court? Seeing no one, I'm going to close public comment and go on to the first item on our agenda, and that's the final financial statement for 2018 for the Sheriff's Office. We welcome Sheriff Steve Sparrow and
Judge,
Deputy Lori Parsons.
and welcome to all the magistrates who survived and those who were newly elected. And I'd like to welcome Albert Harrison and Stephanie Hawkins especially, and looking forward to working with you in the next 4 years. So thank you all very kindly. You've got a copy of this is our 2018 calendar budget. I think you've got a copy of it, and you'll see that what we projected that we were going to bring in last year was $1,939,50, but what we actually brought in last year was $2,293,503, which is a lot better than we expected. And if you all have any questions?
Does anyone have any questions of the sheriff regarding final number for his office for the year? Okay.
We need a motion to.
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion that we accept Steve Sparrow's financial statement as presented. Second.
Are there any questions from magistrates? Pretty clear cut.
Thank you,
That's what
Judge.
you got. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you all
Thank you,
very
Sheriff.
kindly. Appreciate it.
The next item we're going to handle here is the bid openings for a full-body jail scanner at the detention center. Before we open the bids, I'd like to ask our jailer, Mike Simpson, to provide the court with information on this request for the body scanner.
Yes, Judge. Before I do that, I'd like to also welcome Magistrate Harrison and Magistrate Hawkins to the board. Thank you. Basically, we've been the full body scan is something relatively new to the correction as far as on the jail side. What this basically does gives us another tool to be able to control and monitor contraband that could be introduced into our facility. They've made a lot of changes probably in the last 5 to 10 years. I think The first time one was demoed to me probably was 8 years ago, Judge. They've continued to improve these, and many of the jails across the state of Kentucky, the full-service facilities, are putting these in. We start with, obviously, Jefferson County. You know, they have them, and many of our surrounding counties have them also. One of the things, as we have ramped up our numbers, actually, we're coming up on our first year, 1-year anniversary. We moved in January the 27th of 2018. And as our numbers have increased, obviously, this would enhance our ability to monitor, keep check on our work release inmates who go out each and every day. And typically, that's the main source. A lot of your new arrests obviously bring contraband, drugs, needles, things of that nature. But your work release program, obviously, because they do go out every day and work in the community, they're very high risk also. So that's just the quick, short explanation on. I think this would obviously put my staff in better position, and actually, it's safety and security for the inmates. What we have learned over the last 6 to 8 years as the opioid addiction issue has just continued to grow. We have actually, where contraband has entered into some other facilities, and the inmate that didn't even bring the contraband in have overdosed. And we've had some in-custody deaths throughout the state of Kentucky. So again, it's a safety and security issue for not just the staff, and it also obviously provides another layer of security for the inmates. So I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Magistrate Likens.
Thank you, Judge. Is there any penalty for catching someone trying to come into the jail facility or passing through? Do you have arrest
Absolutely.
for that?
Obviously, you know, our county attorney, John Carter would obviously back us up on this one. Basically, we have the ability to actually write the citation ourselves because we are actually sworn peace officers and all of my staff. So yeah, absolutely. If somebody brings contraband in, we find it, we can charge them. Right there and there.
Magistrate Greenwell.
Mike, evidently, if a work release inmate goes out and brings some back in, they never get a chance to be on that program again, I guess.
Well, you know, see, not absolutely, because I don't want to, you never want to back yourself up in a corner. Obviously, we're going to charge them. They're going to be immediately pulled from the program, and then that will be considered a new charge, and it'll have to go through the same process, be presented. It typically starts in district court. Of course, then it's based off how much or what we may find, as far as that.
But until that determination is made, they don't get to go back.
They're absolutely pulled from the program and will be put back into general population.
Okay.
Yes.
Magistrate Hounds.
What's the life expectancy of this product?
Chris, as I said, as we started off, they've changed, they've improved them, just like, your cell phones, next year's model is already ready there being that. They have an annual maintenance agreement with all even though they're brand new. So obviously that, I'm assuming without, once we look at the bids, we'll have that in place. I don't know that they specifically have a life expectancy scenario. I know in my dealings and talking with some of the other jailers already in Kentucky that there's a particular company and a particular model, whereas if you go that route and then there's a major upgrade in that particular model, that they can come and replace.
Parts.
Yeah, so there is that. I'm not sure exactly until we really get into it. Something I'll share with the court also. We lobbied, our Kentucky Jailers Association lobbied in Frankfurt a couple of years ago, got this passed through, whereas this can actually be part of an expenditure that's paid for out of the inmate commissary account. So we have that on the table. Obviously, whatever the cost is or whatever the annual maintenance agreements, we can actually pay for that via that. And I'm not sure, I don't see Stan there. Stan, I don't know, is there still any monies available in the original construction of the new facility? So there's actually money appropriated for this, but we can approach this in two different ways. Either, Judge, that the money that Stan says is still there, or obviously, You know, you can lease these items, you can buy them outright, that type of thing. There's several ways that, you know, this will work.
Magistrate Harrison?
Yes, Mike, do you have provisions for aerial deliveries as by drones or unmanned aerial
Well,
vehicles?
we have a policy, as many of, you know, correctional facilities across this country, you know, these drone things have attacked correctional facilities. There's cases, you can look them up on the internet like everybody does, Albert, and you can find certain scenarios where the airspace, if a drone flies over, one of the most recent ones is up in Wisconsin, they were handcuff keys dropped into the work yard area. Obviously, the inmates were able to pick those up. And finish that story, some inmates were on transport. They were all in, you know, shackles, but then they had the keys. So, you know, that is an issue. I mean, you know, technology is good if it's used in the proper manner, but it also can be a really challenge for us. And that's one of them.
It's just something you're vigilant
Yes,
about.
absolutely. Yes.
Thank you.
Magistrate Hawkins? Yes.
Jailer Simpson, what is the incidence of a family member suing a county or suing the jail after an overdose of a family member within the jail? Are there incidences of that?
Well, obviously, you know, there's a lot of different factors. You know, obviously, the issue of the number of people that are obviously have been arrested because of what we're dealing with on all levels, whether it's the initial law enforcement. From that standpoint, you know, we do have the 24/7 medical now since we're at the new facility. You may not be aware of that, obviously, just coming on board. So that's really put us in a much better position to be able to evaluate and hopefully, you know, avoid any of those in custody deaths. So with all that being said, we've taken extra steps. We continually train our staff. This particular unit would probably, I think, obviously elevate that, put us in a better position to try to keep it out of the general population. If we can identify, find it, and obviously keep it from coming into the facility. But guys, we are under attack. The correctional facilities as a whole across this state of Kentucky, it is an ongoing issue. This hopefully is going to be, we can maybe deter some of it. Right now, it's people that come in who, the Oldham County Detention, they know we don't have it because we have a lot of repeat offenders. Those particular people are out on the streets talking. So if they get arrested and currently come to the Oldham County Detention Center, they know we don't have this. Now, is it going to catch everything? It's not. We know that also. Again, as I continue to stay in touch with other jails and other facilities that have it, but if it saves one person's life, what is it worth? So,
Magistrate Dye?
Mike, two questions. One, when I read through the bid specs here, and I think you've touched on it already to a degree, whichever one that we buy, assuming we pick one today, is the software, we've of course in the past, not this one, but some of the other ones, we've bought things that were the software updates were only good for that particular item. In other words, it was a proprietary item. So are we going to be able to work around that to where?
well, let me say one comment, Bob. It wasn't really a question, but you made a comment. Once we open up today, I would suggest that we take some time, more than just today, hopefully, because what I would like to do is open them up, take a look. I'm pretty confident I know which companies have done it. Then allow us the opportunity to make some additional phone calls and say, okay, you have this particular unit, tell me what you like, what you don't like, even if I want to go visit and that type of thing. So hopefully maybe come back with a recommendation in the first fiscal court meeting in February. But yeah, that's something that we can ask those types of questions, because I think what I asked with Chris, if there's an upgrade in that model, there is a company.
I think he was talking more of a physical piece, not
necessarily
electronics.
software. Yeah.
All right, the second question, and Magistrate Albert Harrison mentioned that the drones. I mean, you've had that discussion when we were
did.
building the jail. And I said that, correct me if I'm wrong, it goes back a couple of
It's
years.
been, yes.
In the exercise yard, within the confines of the building, there's you have a chain link fence type of thing. It's so many, 20, 30, 40 feet in the air. But according to jail specs, you have to have you can't cover that off because you have to have fresh air,
Fresh air,
correct?
yes.
So with that being said, since you're going to have this piece of equipment, and I think at one time we talked about 2 of these,
Yes.
okay? Would it behoove us to think about when somebody's, I know this might be not something that would work right away, when somebody's been on the exercise yard, either find a way to keep the drone problem eliminated or run them through the scanner?
Yes, we're working on our policy already, and hoping that we're going to be able to do this, Bob. And part of our policy will include not just when they come into the facility, and we're talking obviously a new arrest, that's their first time in. But let me focus on that work release section. We have a 50-bed unit. Albert, I'm not sure if you heard me say this too, but 50 bed, that core of people go out and out every day. We actually will be able to put in our policy, we will run them through the scanner when they leave our facility, because if they get something by us and they have it currently inside our facility, and then they're going to try to take it out with them when they go to that job site, I want to know it. So we can do that. We can scan them coming in. We can scan them going out. The other big thing where they hide things, once they get it into your facility, is they will actually hide it inside that mattress. So even when we go into a cell to do a typical cell search, Bob, it's hard, obviously, because those mats, you've seen them.
Yeah.
We can take that mat out of that cell and run it through the scanner to see if there's things hidden in that. So it just gives us a really, obviously, a better tool to be able to maintain and hopefully increase our security.
All right, one last thing. Your work release people, they still are segregated from your general population, correct?
they are.
We designed it that way?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Measure Logston.
Yes, Mike, I have a question. Chris brought up a good question. If they're going to be obsolete in 4 or 5 years, have you, I don't know if this went through the jail committee or not, but have you all looked at, and you brought up leasing yourself, after you open these bids up and we find out how much it's going to cost, have you all also looked at what it would cost versus leasing one versus
We haven't really
buying one?
Mike, we really haven't crunched those numbers. I know some of the other jails, the full-service facilities that I've talked to, they've went that option. That's why I wanted to ask Stan to make sure that the initial purchase money was still in there, in the construction fund. And I guess it varies. Again, the good thing about it, whatever we choose to do, if we want to buy them out of this straight out, and then if we want to take the maintenance agreement, I am really interested in looking at what the maintenance agreement is going to encompass. Because in my discussions with other jails, that's almost a really key issue. Because it's like everything, it's price, product, and service. And we want to make
Just
sure.
looking at like iPhones, if you bought an i6 4 years later, an i10 is twice as better than an i6. So are you all going to, is the jail committee, will they look and see leasing versus buying? What's the best
Well,
option?
I mean, it's something we have to look at. I think that would be smart on our part.
All right,
And
thank
coming
you.
back to your original question about how quickly do these things change, again, it's like at the airport. How often do the TSA, upgrade their machines? Mike, I think it would fall in that same category. I mean, I don't have a specific answer.
Measure Die.
You just brought something up, Mike, with the leasing. I think that would be one way to go with it, but you didn't write that, I didn't see that in here about the leasing.
It's not in the bid specs, but again, I think if we talk to that particular company, Bob, let's say whoever we feel like is going to be awarded that, I know most of those companies offer that, straight out purchase, no big deal, or I think we could look at that, still be able to lease it. But either way, again, we've got the money here, and we have the ability to pay for it through the commissary.
So what I'm hearing you say, that if the money that's left over for construction, you're committing today the commissary money to continue with this?
Well, I mean, it's there. We have the money to do some things.
But you're committing to do that, correct?
Well, I absolutely would, yes. I would look at the options and make sure what's the best one. I'm going to do what's best for us and best for the county, obviously. And I will say this, as our numbers have increased, our money in our commissary account is increased.
So we can count on a donation from you, correct?
Well, I don't know about the donation part, because it's not my money. But, so.
Okay, anyone else? All right, thank you.
All right.
We'll go ahead and open the bids now.
Judge, okay if I just stay here and write down some numbers? Okay.
The first bid is from Romine Companies, Hopkinsville. Said total bid not to exceed $116,000. The second bid is from OD Security. And, I'll have to scan through it here to find out where it is. Summary. Description. Probably 4 here. OD Security, $118,750.
Where are they from, Judge?
Daniel Island, South Carolina.
Yeah, they're out of state, yes.
Say where Romine was from, Hopkinsville? All right, okay.
Yep.
All right. Mike, why don't you take those two?
Okay.
I think you should work with, we don't have a jail committee, we have a public safety committee. And I think you'll take a look at those and come back to the Public Safety Committee, and let's all sit down and talk and determine which financial route, the equipment and financial route, and so forth. Mike's doing a great job, but our jail is operating very efficiently. We're not at, we're getting closer to capacity. We're not there yet, but he's continued to move up the service that we're providing for ourselves and for other regional needs.
Judge, if you'd like, I obviously with, Master Harrison and obviously Master Hawkins, if I could do just a quick update for them. I know they're doing a little bit of catch-up. Guys, really what Judge, and thank you, Judge, for your comments. We, again, as I said earlier, we're getting ready to come up on our first year, 1-year anniversary of being in the new facility. The facility pushed back quite a bit the first 6 months that we were in there. Things weren't necessarily working. And, I think when you came by, we shared some comments with you on that. It has gotten better, but we still have some issues. We've got another meeting scheduled this month, hopefully to address those particular issues. Our count today was 306. That's what we had in there today. And with about 32, I believe, Oldham County. So you can do the simple math. If you subtract that, that's what we have. That's basically generating in what we refer to as leasing out the beds. Something that I shared with our Chief Financial Officer yesterday. Have you had a chance to say anything to anybody with that? Okay. Here's another angle that, most of you, obviously with the exception maybe of the 2 new magistrates, Judge, initially one of our service providers was going to be, or a source of revenue was the ICE contract. That didn't work out. Okay, U.S. Marshals, the feds, yes. But, Judge, we are also working on, through the U.S. Marshals, and this is something I shared with Stan just yesterday. We have the ability to receive a designation. It's called a certification/designation by the Bureau of Prisons. If we are successful in getting that designation or certification, what that really means for us is any particular federal inmate will remain in our facility much longer. And the best example that I can give you is on the state level. Okay, this is a mirror image program on how state inmates work. Someone's arrested, charged with a felony, and they're found guilty. At that moment, they become the property of the Department of Corrections here in Kentucky. That state inmate, though, can remain in county jails for a long, extended period of time, and many times they never actually go to prison. They serve out. If we get this certification from the Bureau of Prisons, similar things could happen for us. So a federal inmate is charged, is found guilty, becomes a federal inmate, they can actually stay with us. Because what we know on the state level and on the federal level, every state prison in Kentucky is full. There's more state inmates in the county jails than there are in our state prisons. They have no space. Similarly, the same thing is happening on the federal level. So if we get that certification there is actually one other jail in Kentucky that has that already for the Bureau of Prisons. So we're working on the front end. Nothing moves very quickly when you get to the federal level, but that will be a big plus if we can get that certification.
Magistrate Logston.
What's the pay between state and federal prisoners?
Our per diem rate, our feds pay us 57, and I'll round the state's 32. It's like 31.74, but I always say 32. So,
Magistrate Guy.
How many state inmates do we have? Since you gave us a number for county out of the 306, how many state and fed do we have?
Bob, we have today probably around 140 on the state level, and I didn't look at that on the breakdown. And our feds probably around right at 80 right now, but that's all on just that doesn't count, the immigration because they're transit now because we maintained our 72-hour.
We're still doing the 72-hour hold thing?
We're still doing that. Example today, we were in Henderson, Boone, Carter, all today. And that's literally, if you look at the map, that is Henderson, Boone, Carter, and almost West Virginia. That's just today. So this other thing that I shared with you guys, that could be really a big boon for us if we get this certification.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you all.
Next item on the agenda today has to do with budget transfers for the current fiscal year. County Treasurer Melissa Horn will review that with the court.
Good afternoon. Today I'm asking for budget transfers, of $148,319 in total. These are all from line items that have been overspent with their fiscal year 19 budget, so we transfer from lines that have budget balances remaining.
Yes, sir.
Second.
Moved and seconded that we readjust the budget to accommodate these line item transfers. Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item has to do with our bills here. If you look under tab B, every 2 weeks, we pay the bills that are accumulated by the county. When you're ready, I'll accept a motion on that.
Motion to pay the bills, please.
Any discussion on these bills? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. We have some surplus property, and Melissa Horn will go through that with us.
Today I'm asking you to surplus a sheriff vehicle. It's a 2013 Ford Explorer. It was standing still when it was hit on one of the corners here in the city. It was hit by a dump truck, and the CAECO claims adjuster has determined the damages to be a total loss. So I'm asking to surplus it and to send it to salvage.
I'll make that
Make a
motion,
motion.
Judge. Second.
Moved and seconded, and I assume we're going to take the equipment off it.
It's already been stripped.
Been
Yes,
stripped,
sir.
right,
Yes.
Measure Greenwell.
Melissa, when we, this was clearly the other fault.
Yes.
Thank you. So our insurance company, Keiko, settles up with them and they actually make a payment to us? The other,
In this case, the initial check that we get will be less our deductible, which is $1,000. And then when Keiko completes their transaction with the other insurance company, we get that deductible back too.
okay.
Anyone else? All right, hearing nothing, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right, before you now on under item D, that's the 2019 staff appointments that I'd like to make. And we have all departments here, all individuals listed in those departments. And I think most of you are probably familiar with a good number of these people. At the beginning of each term, we reappoint the staff. It's a function under state government, but these are all individual employees, at-will employees, and we don't have anyone here other than the new county engineer who would be under contract. Everyone else is an at-will employee. So, Magistrate Logston, is it personnel? Human Resources Department have a recommendation? Second? Okay. Discussion. Magistrate Hounds.
For clarification, isn't the school security officers and the chief under contract too?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Right.
I
I
make
wasn't
sure.
thinking about.
I wasn't making sure I just wasn't missing
Right, they're
something.
under year-to-year contract.
Right, okay.
Right. Thank you. Anyone else have a question here? Hearing nothing, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item has to do with the shared access agreement for property that we share with another entity in LaGrange, and Jim Urban is here to discuss that with the court.
Thank you, Judge. What you're being asked to consider is on our property on Highway 146 or Jefferson Street. I'm going to just zoom in a little bit here. As you know, we own this property, which is now housing the Oldham County Environmental Authority. And this is, for those of us who've been around the county a long time, the old Mallory Taylor site, which doesn't exist. And out front, there is a now vacant funeral home. And that funeral home is being purchased by another entity to use it as a funeral home. And when they did their survey, they found that our property line goes right down the middle of that driveway. So it basically separates the two properties. So we're basically sharing a driveway without a joint access agreement. So the folks who are doing the closing have asked us to consider a joint access easement, which is in front of you. And the stippled area is the area that is described in that shared access easement. And you've had this in your packets. We sent it out. Any questions? I know Mr. Carter has reviewed this. I've looked at it. We've looked at the survey itself, and from a perspective of access easement appears to be in order.
All right,
Judge, I'll make a motion
generally
that-
make a motion, get it on the floor here. You want Magistrate Likens?
Yes, Judge, I'd like to make a motion that we allow you to sign the shared access easement agreement.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Now, discussion. Magistrate Harrison.
Yes, thank you. Jim, do we have a copy of this plat with original signature and seal on it?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Do we have a copy of this survey plat with original signature and seal on it?
We will get that once we approve this. if that's what you're asking.
Yes.
All of this was transmitted via emails for our review, but ultimately, before we can consummate and put it to record, we would get all the original signatures submitted to us.
Okay, because this is not a current survey or plat. It was done some time ago.
Yes, the date on it is, and Mr. Harrison, you might point quicker than me, I wasn't looking at that. Yes,
I didn't hear what he said.
November.
21st to 16?
Yes.
Yep.
So there may be some updating required by the surveyor before he can sign it.
Okay. I'll make sure that happens.
Manager Greenwell.
Thank you, Judge. Jim, so what I'm hearing is that this shared driveway is going to be shared by the county and shared by the people that hope to buy the funeral home?
That's correct.
And will they share in the upkeep of the driveway?
That's what's in the written part of the access agreement, or easement, rather, and it's fairly simple. The attorney writing it tried to keep it real simple. There are only 2 pages. Again, that was in your packet. I know Mr. Carter reviewed it to make sure that, in particular, that no improvements were made and then us build without first, and actually it says, I think, by both parties, agreement by both parties, that plowing or re-asphalting or anything that might happen that requires maintenance isn't just done by somebody else and then we get billed for it. They understand that we're government and can't just do it without some kind of bids perhaps or initial approval from fiscal court.
This involves the property that, where OSEA is currently housed. I think our long-term plan is to dispose of that property if an opportunity becomes available to do so. So, have to be accepted by any subsequent owner, or perhaps the partner that we have in this would want to pick up that property as well.
Right.
Manager Likens.
Judge, we brought that up in Building and Maintenance Committee today about getting an appraisal on that Mallory Taylor building. So we may enter into some sort of negotiations. We have to have a figure to start with.
That's unrelated to this easement, is that?
Yes,
Yes.
unrelated to this easement, yes.
Are there any further comments about this or questions? I have a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
One opposed. Motion carries. Thank you. We now have item F under contract agreements and resolutions, a request to sign for the Kentucky Public Highway Safety Enforcement Grant that we go for. Chief Smith that could review that.
Yes, sir. This is the same grant that we apply for every year. It's through the Kentucky Office of Highway Safety. This year, we're going to request $60,000. Last year, we got $48,000. We use that money for enhanced traffic enforcement every year. There is no cost to the county. There's no matching funds, no cost to the county. Gives us the ability to work areas where we have speeding issues, traffic accident issues. There are some objectives within a grant that we have to meet, but basically, this is the resolution's request, permission to submit a grant.
Manager Greenwell.
Judge, I'll make a motion that we give you the authority to sign this grant application.
Second. Is there any discussion on this? Manager Greenwell.
Are there any stipulations, Greg, about what roads can be monitored and what ones can't be, or anything like that?
No, you know, we focus on actually our traffic areas. You know, we maintain statistics on where our complaints are, where our mainly our speeding complaints and where our accidents are, and that's where we focused. There are some objectives in the grant that we have to meet, seatbelt usage, seatbelt citations. There's a designation for trying to have fewer injury accidents, so therefore we do focus on areas we have problems. But we can use it just about any place where we see there's a problem, but there are objectives we have to meet though.
Neighborhoods
Yes.
can be, okay, that was my,
But primarily though, Master, we focus on the major roadways.
Sure.
'Cause that's our problems. But we can if we had to.
okay.
And I've asked the chief to be out on the interstate as much as possible with our forces to try to make a dent in the just relentless speeding that goes on out there. It is, swimming against the tide. There's no two ways about it, but we have to do everything we can to raise the level of public safety and security on a dangerous stretch. So we've had more people out there, and we're going to continue to do that.
Thanks, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right, is there, we had a motion and a second on this. Any further questions or anything? This is, we'll go for this, keep our fingers crossed, and expect to get some help. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. The next item here has to do with proposal for a building consultant. You see before you, I asked John Stewart from Encompass to come over and take a look at the church building next door and give us some ideas on what we could do to create a very nice community space there, something we can use as a fiscal court, something that could be available to the community under circumstances that, a policy we deliver. John gave us a price of $6,800 up to $6,830. The head trust a few weeks ago gave us a check for $20,000 to help develop this property. So this architectural planning fee has already been covered. So appreciate a motion to allow me to have Mr. Stewart
Make
go
that
forward.
motion, Judge.
Second.
As you like, Logston?
Only.
Mr. Stewart's work is intended to be on the inside, although part of that work, we hope to, he's going to do some lighting research, and we hope to light up the stained glass windows in a way that obviously really show it off from the outside. Magistrate Likens.
Thank you, Judge. We brought this up in Building and Maintenance Committee also today, and I've lived in Oldham County 50 years, but we keep calling this the church building. Does it have a proper name, or should we look into maybe honoring somebody for this project? I don't know what we're going to call it.
I'm not sure. I think at this point, it doesn't have, it's called a church building because it's got a steeple on it. And,
I'm just trying to.
With the red roof.
I'm just trying to bring that up into discussion that maybe the other magistrates may think of someone, something to honor besides
Something
calling it the church building.
Something appropriate we can do in the long run there. It's been here, I'm not sure. I've seen pictures of the courthouse from 1870, and the steeple was in the background, so it's been out there a long time. But in addition to the interior, Magistrate Tice has been working on a project for the exterior, and you may want to, let people know what's happening there too.
Yes, Judge, we have awarded or will be awarding a contract for cleaning out the bat droppings out of the steeple area up there. It's several feet thick, I understand, and we have to wait till a certain time when the bats aren't mating or something like that in the spring. But we're going to be starting that work in, I think, the 1st of March. And we also entertained either, number one, putting a new steeple in place, a pre-manufactured steeple, or getting the existing one repaired, in which we're taking bids on.
Right. It's in, no one gets up there, but it's in rough shape, and we don't need it to have deteriorate further or fall down or something.
Several years ago, we made the first step when we put the new glass over the stained glass windows. And that was a very big visual improvement, as well as it secured the stained glass. So that was a good first step. So it makes sense we go forward with it.
Anyone else? All right, all in favor of moving forward with this, allowing Encompass to develop this interior plan, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item here is a resolution to oppose the Worthington Fire District in its attempt to receive a certificate of need to begin an ambulance service in the Worthington Fire District. The Oldham County Emergency Ambulance Taxing Board has been meeting on this since information came out that Worthington intended to go forward with a ambulance service. Part of the Worthington Fire District covers Oldham County. Stan Clark is one of our board members. Stan, would you like to say anything about this?
Okay, can you hear me? I don't see the
You got to
mic.
project.
Okay. The ambulance taxing district feels like what they know about this, it's not good for Oldham Countyans. There's a host of issues. As you know, we provide a first-class service. We're accredited ambulance service, provide full service here to Oldham County. It's tax-based. There is a 4.74 cents charge on tax bills that provide to help pay for the service, and so we're ready and to respond. We're worried that Worthington, we're unsure. It gives them the ability to put an additional tax on the same people for the same service through the fire. I'm aware that Middletown and Anchorage, they add an extra nickel when they, so far, and they can go as much as 10 cents. We also have concerns about how it would be dispatched. Also, it's not a full ambulance service that Worthington is proposing. It's emergency medical only, which is about 42% of what our ambulance service covers here is the emergency. There's a lot as far as transports and other non-emergency transports. Worthington is not interested in it. Looking at the application, it raises more questions for us than it does answers. Somehow they are planning to make more emergency runs, more than double the number of emergency runs that we make with 9 ambulances, with only 2 ambulances. So training is an issue. So we have a host of problems. We just don't feel like, we feel like the part of the Worthington Fire District in Oldham County is served extremely well with our ambulance service. And we, if anything, see this as a negative, if not more cost. We're worried about the confusion and other things. So we have asked to speak when they have the hearing on this, and we're not alone. We understand there could be other services in Jefferson County that is against this as well. So I can ask more questions, but we have a lot of concern about this being best for Oldham County.
All right. We have a resolution here. I'd like to, before we answer any questions, read the resolution supporting Oldham County EMS as the sole ambulance provider in Oldham County. Whereas the Oldham County Fiscal Court wishes to express its support for Oldham County EMS, and whereas Oldham County has an incumbent ground ambulance provider, it's a county-wide service, and whereas the Worthington Fire Protection District is filed with the state of Kentucky to provide an emergency ambulance service in an area of Oldham County for which Oldham County residents pay an annual emergency ambulance tax, and whereas Oldham County residents are being provided service in a timely manner as evidenced by EMS's proven track record in regard to response times, and whereas Oldham County EMS is providing high-quality service to the residents of Oldham County as evidenced by its Commission of Accreditation on Ambulance Services Accreditation, Oldham County EMS being one of only 2 ambulance services in Kentucky so accredited. And whereas Oldham County Fiscal Court is very concerned that the introduction of a new ambulance provider in the county will create confusion among the public and confusion and possible delay at Oldham County Dispatch, therefore impairing the quality of services received by residents. And whereas Oldham County Fiscal Court sees no need for a second ambulance service in the area of Oldham County that overlaps with the Worthington Fire Protection District. Now, therefore, be it resolved as follows, that Oldham County Fiscal Court strongly opposes the application of the Worthington Fire Protection District to provide anything other than backup ambulance service in Oldham County. So that's the resolution, and is there a motion to approve it?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. All right, is there any discussion on this? Measure Greenwell.
Thank you. Stan, how would Worthington, I mean, if a resident in this area dials 911 and says, my husband's unconscious, how would Worthington even know about this? I mean, shouldn't it go to our dispatch center and our ambulance be dispatched?
This is where I get confused, and maybe Kevin Ness would be a better, but it would go to our dispatch the way I understand it, and we are to dispatch, but it would be our go always. What's best is to dispatch the closest ambulance. The problem will be, we won't know what the closest ambulance is. If Worthington, we won't know where they are. We have no ability to see them and think, because our dispatch would dispatch Worthington Fire, the fire department, into that district as well. So we don't know if they're just going to show up with an ambulance. It creates confusion. They have not come to dispatch to discuss how this might be done or ways for it to be done. So it's one of the things that we feel like has not been researched, and we don't really know what would happen.
Tim Keel is here. Tim, you may be able to answer that question with additional information. One of the issues with Worthington, of course, is that we do have a consortium that helps of fire departments and EMS that support Oldham County Dispatch. Worthington does not participate or support the consortium, provide no money to it.
But yet Worthington Fire Department is backup to North Oldham maybe, or something like?
No, North Oldham, or Worthington serves Orchard Grass as far as fire protection.
Okay.
So we dispatch Worthington. If a call comes into us, we would dispatch the fire service.
Speak up just a little louder.
Okay. We dispatch the fire service, Worthington Fire Service, and then we do a patch with our current system. So they work the run through us.
Okay.
As far as EMS, and I have requested information from Metro, I've yet to receive that information on how we're going to do that. I don't monitor their channel. There's absolutely no way I could with their activity.
So there's no way we could dispatch Worthington to do an ambulance run?
I could dispatch them to do an ambulance run, but then I'm going to have to call and see if they're even available to do that before or after. It would be a delay.
I guess I'm a little foggy on this. If somebody in the affected area that Worthington wants to serve also makes a call, I've got an unconscious person in my house, why would Worthington even enter into the conversation?
Well, I haven't seen the CON currently, but we're going to discuss that tomorrow, so I can't answer that really, but I'm going to dispatch Oldham County.
Sure.
And I think the accreditation says that we dispatch both. So I would dispatch the Department of Jurisdiction, which would be Oldham County EMS. So I'm going to go forward and dispatch them immediately. We'll worry about the other portion, after the fact. So again, I don't have any policy and procedure because I don't know what they're planning on doing right now. I don't have that information. So.
We have a situation here where people in Oldham County are paying for service now. Another service wants to superimpose itself over the Oldham County service and collect a second fee. I don't know about you, but I think one ambulance tax is enough. Oldham County EMS can respond to any place generally in the county in less than, I'd say, 8 minutes, wasn't that 8 to 9 minutes? So it's possible that everybody could be tied up at something, and then you would call on a neighbor for, it's like mutual aid in the fire service.
And we have had that before,
Right.
so yes, correct.
Magistrate Harrison.
Thank you. To me, this seemed like a great example of somebody picking the low-hanging fruit, because the Worthington Fire Station is right across the road from the subdivision they want to serve.
It's very close, yes, sir.
So it's really convenient to them, but they get to pick and choose what is an emergency, what is not an emergency. And I haven't heard anything yet that indicates an improvement in the quality of service for our residents, just in revenue possibly to Worthington Fire Department. So I have no compulsion here to vote anyway except in favor of this proposal. I don't think we should get in bed with Worthington. We had issues with them when we were on the task force, and they don't seem to have gone away.
One thing very critical to point out here, in their application, we do agree, they show that their expected runs, which are more runs than we do in Oldham County, is 99% expected in Jefferson County, which leaves about 45, 50 by their numbers runs in Oldham County that they would actually do. Year to date, last year, well, we landed up doing 42 runs of this type in that overlap district. So it's not a lot of runs, but it's a huge revenue source for 42 runs is what it amounts to. So.
I have one other comment. As some of you might imagine, I have a lot of friends in the Golden Age group, and many of these in their 70s, 80s, and even early 90s have been subject to a fall or some other type of home accident. They've been served by our EMS people, and I've heard nothing but superlative comments for your people and the service that they get. I'm kind of prejudiced because one of my neighbors across the street is one of the EMTs. And I think the service we're getting here in Oldham County is great. So I'm fine with where we are.
As you die.
Well, since this is strictly in my district, it affects the Glen Oaks Moser Farm, the Reserve, and the woods of Glen Oaks, and then off of Schuler Lane area. I don't know if this resolution can stop what they want to do. I know Chris Hounds, Magistrate Hounds, has mentioned some things to me, but I know where I live. The guy next door to me, and my house backs up to the Jefferson County line. The gentleman who used to live beside me had a double lung transplant, and every time he had to go to the hospital, it was an ambulance out of Anchorage. So they're getting dispatched somehow, and I don't know how. And I'm not taking issue of what service is better than another service. My concern is the constituents in my district. I don't want them to. I don't have to go to them and say, well, they want y'all to pay a tax to Oldham County and to Worthington Fire Department. I don't think that's even remotely fair, and I don't believe two entities can charge for the same thing. So somebody's got to give here. You know. Now if I need to tell those people they need to be at that meeting, we can storm the firehouse over there. But trust me, I've been in the firehouse. They don't have a big room. So you might get Northeast Christian Church might work for you, but I don't see charging charging a group of people that kind of money. So.
Magistrate Hounds.
So I have a little more history on this because of my position with the fire department, not with Worthington, with Pee Wee Valley. But this comes about because of the service that the residents of Jefferson County are getting, or lack thereof. And so they're trying to expand their service to take care of the constituents in the Jefferson County part of their district. I agree with the comments that have been made about Oldham County EMS. I obviously work with them on a regular basis. Great group of people, and the service is very good also. The problem is, as I understand the certificate of need, it doesn't have a boundary between Oldham County and Jefferson County. Am I right, Stan? It's a certificate of need for the district. County line just is an imaginary line to them.
Well, the district overlaps, but they could have applied for a certificate of need for Jefferson County only, and they've chose not to. We asked them to. Their own attorney agreed with our attorney that they should just, for ease, poke just apply for just Jefferson County, which is where they show 99% of the runs. However, they chose to move forward to go after Oldham County, which, in my opinion, it's probably looking at the tax base more than it is about the service. But they chose. They could have not included Oldham County. In fact, Middletown, Harrods Creek, and other ones, their certificate of needs is Jefferson County only. So,
But those departments don't have territory in Oldham County. The only Jefferson County department that I'm aware of that has territory outside of Jefferson County is Worthington.
but the attorney that the ambulance service and we're using told us that they could have very well excluded Oldham County and chose not to. So.
And having the two ambulances is not, and this is an opinion, there's probably the run volume, if it's 99%, then you've got a 1% chance that ambulance is going to service potentially the Oldham County resident, which, again, doesn't provide any better service for them than what they're getting today, potentially. And not with the resolution, but there's got to be a way that we can fix the problem, because it's not, Tim Keel's comments exactly. We will never know if where their ambulance is, because we don't monitor their frequency, their talk group. And it will make a dispatching nightmare for us to have to manage their ambulance and then call ours off. The worst thing we want to do is have one of our ambulances go into an emergency run and then all of a sudden get canceled by a Worthington ambulance because they're closer. That doesn't make any sense either. I mean, there's a lot of holes to this in the grand scheme of things. And just as you don't have any answers, I don't know that they have any answers either.
Well, that's exactly, one additional reason why the certificate of need needs to be opposed, because it's got lots of holes.
Right, but I guess, Judge and Stan, you guys are more involved with this than I am, obviously, but I guess I don't know, even if we pass this resolution, I don't want people to think because we pass this resolution that this is going to happen, that they're not still going to come into Oldham County. I don't know.
No, what we're seeking is support. So when we have the hearing and we go to the board, they hear that they understand that we're opposed to it, and we will provide reasons we're opposed to it. And at the end of the day, it's up to the certificate of need. It's a Kentucky
Board of EMS.
Yeah, it's up to them to make the decision to grant this or not. And we'll all have to live by what they do, but we're hoping. And as we understand, we're not the only group opposed. We're hearing rumors that there could be 4 other ambulance services / fire departments opposed to this as well. We know that 5 entities have asked to attend the hearing and be heard at the hearing.
And I've heard the same thing, but I do believe that is more of a usual and customary, not necessarily to oppose
Right.
in some.
Yeah, we don't know.
Right.
It could be bargaining chips.
Yes, there's a good term. I like that.
Some of them are trying to use that leverage to bargain, to get something out of it. So, yes.
I just don't want people to think that if we pass this resolution, that the problem is going to resolve itself.
No.
Your comment is the best. You're looking for support, and I understand that.
That should die.
Stan, I agree with you about the money grab. It's a money grab because the Worthington Fire Department's right across 1694 in Norton Commons. And when Norton Commons gets finished, there's going to be 2,400 residents, and they're probably at 70% now. I'd say in that part of my district, there's probably 1,000, 1,200 homes, probably mid-range, probably 400,000 to 500,000, probably somewhere in that area. So I could see where they're going after the money grab. But whatever this group you're talking about, of course, you'll be there, I hope that the people there understand that we're not talking about boundaries and fees and money grabs and all that. We're trying to talk, I thought the whole concept here was to take care of the people that are in most need at that time. So I don't know what's going to turn out on this, but this might be a start to getting an agreement that works for everybody.
Okay. Magistrate Hawkins.
For those who might not know, what is your
Mic on.
Okay. Mr. Keel, what is your role or position for those that may not know who you are?
I'm the Oldham County Dispatch Director.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second that sign this resolution. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion, anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. The next item here is from the Road Committee, Magistrate Greenwald.
Thank you, Judge. We have a bond release for Arbor Ridge Point parking expansion, and our county engineer, Jim Silliman, is going to walk us through this.
Good afternoon. The applicant noted A1 Engineering, they've met the requirements needed for the erosion control permit to be released for this parking lot expansion at Arbor Ridge Point. So I simply ask the fiscal court agree to release the bond in the amount of $11,224.20.
Mr. Greenwell.
Judge, I'll make that motion, and we need a second to discuss it, but.
Discussion? Mr. Greenwell.
Vic Peak sent me an email, talked to me on the phone about this, and we will not have a road committee meeting until the first meeting in February, so I'm okay with this. Actually, I parked beside this expansion 5 days a week. So anyway, I've seen it under construction, I've seen it completed, and it seems to be in good order.
Great. Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Motion carries.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Now I'm going to ask that we go into executive session pursuant to KRS 61.810 subsection G and subsection F. We're going to discuss a specific business proposal, and we're also going to talk about human resources issue.
Second.
Right, and I'm going to ask that Jay Hall and Russ Rose be included in the initial part of the executive session, along with Stan Clark, and Kevin Nuss, of course, will be there.
Need a motion to that effect?
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion that we go into executive session pursuant to KRS 61.810 G and F.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Beautiful.